Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Sunday, March 1st, 2026. And if you are listening to this right now, or even if you're catching up a couple of days later, you probably know exactly why that date is, well, why it matters so much.
Oh, absolutely. The air is practically thick with it today.
Yeah, the tension is just palpable because it's the start of the H-1B registration season. And usually, this is a time of high anxiety anyway, mixed with just a heavy dose of superstition.
Right. A lot of crossed fingers and relying on pure luck.
Exactly. Pure dumb luck. You submit a name, maybe you light a candle, and you just hope the random number generator picks you. But this year, the atmosphere feels fundamentally different.
It does. It feels less like a casino and more like a high-stakes chess match.
Right.
Where everyone's just terrified to move their queen.
Because it really is a watershed moment, and I don't use that phrase lightly. We are looking at an absolute earthquake in the world of immigration and global talent right now.
We really are. For decades, we operated under this one set of rules. And sure, they were flawed rules, but they were predictable.
Yeah.
But as of this week, with the new regulations kicking in for the FY 2027 season, the playbook hasn't just been tweaked. It's been thrown straight into the shredder.
Which is wild. We are officially talking about the death of the random lottery. For as long as I've been following this, the H-1B process was the great equalizer, in the most chaotic way possible.
Chaotic is the perfect word for it.
Right, because it didn't matter if you were a genius rocket scientist or an entry-level coder fresh out of school. You were just a number in a giant bin. But now we've transitioned to a system where your salary literally determines your luck.
That is the core shift. The transition from a lottery of chance to a lottery of economics. It's a total restructuring of how the United States defines merit. And honest, it is a terrifying shift if you don't fully understand the math behind it.
So that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are going to unpack this beast. We need to look at what's officially being called the wage-weighted lottery and really dig into the specific strategies required to navigate it.
Because the stakes are incredibly high for you if you're going through this. It's no longer about just submitting a name. It is entirely about merit-based competition now.
Exactly. And to do that, we are incredibly lucky to have some fascinating source material to work with today. We're not just reading dry federal guidelines here. We are analyzing the H-1B revolution case files.
Which are just a goldmine of information.
They really are. We get to follow the actual narrative of a candidate named Shady. He's a senior data analyst.
Yeah.
And his hiring manager, Bill.
Poor Bill. I mean, reading through his emails in those files, the guy sounds like he's on the verge of a total panic attack.
He really does. And frankly, for good reason. We also have the perspectives of an immigration attorney named Sarah and an adjudicating officer, Officer Miller, which is great because it gives us the view from the legal and enforcement side of things.
Yeah, those case files take all these abstract bureaucratic rules and show us the actual human panic and strategy behind them.
They do. But before we get too deep into the weeds of the files, I want to pose a question to you and really to everyone listening. How does a $5,000 raise triple your chances of staying in the country?
Now that is the multi-million-dollar question right there.
Right, or the $5,000 question with million-dollar implications.
Exactly.
We're also going to tease something called the consular shock, which is this massive new $100,000 fee that is completely upending global hiring maps.
It's changing everything.
And we'll look at a hidden trap known as the default rule, which is something that could cause candidates who are just trying to get multiple job offers to accidentally sabotage their entire application.
Oh, that default rule is nasty. It's one of those tiny regulatory details that looks like a footnote, but it acts like a landmine. If you don't know it's there, you step on it, and your eligibility is just gone.
Okay, so let's unpack this from the beginning. Section 1. The death of randomness and the new mechanism. Take us back to the old world, which, it's funny, was literally just a few months ago.
Right. It feels like ancient history already.
It does. What was actually broken about the pre-2026 reality? Because on paper, random sounds kind of fair.
Well, fair is definitely a loaded word in immigration. Let's just set the baseline. Pre-2026, the lottery was a flat system. You had roughly 85,000 spots available every year.
Okay.
And you had anywhere from 300,000 to maybe 500,000 registrations flooding into the system. So it was a pure probability game. Whether your company was paying you $60,000 or $260,000, your registration went into the pool exactly one time.
So you had, what, a flat 25 or 30% chance of selection?
Roughly, yeah. So a true lottery. Justice is blind, and the algorithm was blind too. It was egalitarian in the sense that everyone had the exact same terrible odds.
But I'm guessing people weren't happy with that.
No, the criticism was fierce. And this is exactly what Officer Miller talks about in his enforcement notes. The argument was that a random system didn't prioritize the best and the brightest.
Because it treated an entry-level worker the exact same way it treated, like, a critical AI researcher.
Precisely. It created administrative chaos. Companies couldn't plan their workforce because they couldn't control or even predict the outcome of the lottery.
So then February 27, 2026 rolls around. USCIS flips the switch. They officially implement this weighted system. And the core of it relies on the Department of Labor's four-tier wage levels.
Yes, the famous 4 tiers.
Now, I see this term wage level thrown around constantly in the source documents. Level 1, level 4. Can you break that down for us? What do these levels actually represent to a normal person?
This is where so many people get tripped up. They think level equals job title. Like, I'm a senior manager, so I must automatically be a level 4.
Oh, right. That makes sense intuitively.
It does. But that is not how the Department of Labor works at all. The DOL categorizes every single job in every single county in America into 4 wage levels. And it's based on the complexity of your duties and the level of supervision you require.
Okay, so it's very bureaucratic.
Very.
Yeah.
So level 1 is considered entry level. This means you perform routine tasks, you have limited exercise of judgment, and you are being supervised closely.
So that's the rookie, the fresh grad right out of college.
Right. Then you have level 2, which is qualified. Here, you have a good understanding of the job, you do moderately complex tasks, but still limited judgment.
Got it.
Level 3 is experienced. This is a significant jump. You have a deep understanding of the occupation, you exercise independent judgment, maybe you supervise some people.
Okay, making moves.
And finally, level 4 is fully competent or mastery. You plan and conduct work requiring independent evaluation, selection, and modification of standard techniques.
Modification of standard techniques. I kind of love that phrasing. That's government speak for, I know the rules well enough to break them.
Exactly. You are the absolute expert in the room. Now, under the new 2026 rules, you have to think of the lottery like a giant digital hat. But it is no longer one person, one vote.
Okay, how does the hat work now?
If you are paid a level 1 wage for your specific job and location, your name goes into that digital hat one time. You get 1 ticket.
Makes sense.
If you're paid a level 2 wage, you get 2 tickets. Level 3 gets 3 tickets. And if you are paid that level 4 mastery wage, you get 4 separate entries in the lottery.
Wow. So literally, a level 4 candidate has 4 times the physical presence in the algorithm than a level 1 candidate.
That is the literal mechanic of it.
Oh.
And this is driven by a very specific philosophy. Officer Miller's perspective in the files makes this crystal clear. The system is explicitly designed to favor high-skill, high-wage talent.
Right. The government is basically saying, if you are truly valuable, the market is going to pay you more. And if the free market pays you more, then we, the U.S. government, want you more.
It's the total monetization of merit. They are using your salary as a direct proxy for your value to the country.
Which, I mean, honestly, sounds a bit cold. Does a high salary always equal high value to society?
That is the massive ethical debate happening right now. But strictly in terms of the mechanism, it is just brutal efficiency. And the impact on the probabilities is staggering.
Let's talk about those probabilities, because the files have some preliminary data for this FY 2027 season, right?
Yes. If you are a level 1 candidate today, your odds have absolutely plummeted. You are looking at roughly a 14% chance of selection.
Ouch! 14%. That is grim. That's barely even worth filing the paperwork for.
It's highly discouraging. It effectively filters out entry-level talent unless they happen to be exceptionally lucky. But then look at the other end of the spectrum. Level 4 candidates, their odds have jumped to over 60%.
That's a massive swing. You've gone from a flat 1 in 4 shot for everyone to better than a coin flip just by moving up the wage tiers.
Exactly. And that shifts the entire psychological landscape of this visa. It's no longer a game of chance where you just submit your application and pray to the algorithm. It's a game of economics. You can actively influence your own odds if you understand how these wage levels work.
Which brings us perfectly into the most fascinating part of this deep dive, the actual strategy. Because knowing the rules is one thing, but playing the game is completely different.
Absolutely.
And we have this incredible case study of Shady and Bill from the files that really brings this to life. Let's set the scene for everyone. Shady is a senior data analyst. Bill is the hiring manager at this company. And they're sitting in an office, probably hunched over a spreadsheet, just trying to figure out how to make this work.
Right. And if you read the transcripts of their meetings, the tension is just obvious. Bill is trying to manage his department's budget. He's got a P&L to worry about. Shady is literally trying to manage his life and secure his future in the United States.
So the negotiation starts out pretty typically. Bill offers Shady a base salary of $90,000, which in a vacuum, 90 grand is a very respectable salary.
Sure, it's nothing to sneeze at, especially for a standard data analyst role.
Right.
But in the context of the 2026 immigration rules, that raw number doesn't actually matter as much as the classification of that number.
Because it's geographically specific.
Right. In Shady's specific city, $90,000 for a data analyst falls into the level 2 wage tier.
Okay, so level 2 means Shady gets 2 tickets in the hat. Better than 1, but obviously not the maximum.
Right. 2 entries in the weighted pool, and Shady is sitting there doing the math in his head. He's a data guy, so he knows that with 2 entries, he is still facing really stiff competition. He's probably looking at, what, maybe a 30 or 35% chance of winning?
Which is terrifying. A 65% chance that you have to pack up your life and leave the country. I wouldn't bet my house on those odds.
Neither would he. So Shady does something really smart. He doesn't just ask for more money blindly. He pulls up the wage data. He goes directly to the source.
He does his homework. I love this part.
He finds out that the threshold for level 3 in his exact city for his specific job code, which is SOC code 152031, Operations Research Analysts, is $94,500.
Wait, so he is offered 90, which is level 2, but the line for level 3 is 94.5.
Yes. The gap between those 2 tiers is less than $5,000.
That is just incredible. So here's where the multiplier effect really kicks in. If Bill gives him a $5,000 raise, bringing his total salary to $95,000, Shady crosses that invisible line.
He crosses the threshold. He is immediately no longer a level 2 candidate. He becomes a level 3 candidate. And the system grants him 3 entries in the lottery instead of 2.
So let's just pause and really absorb that. For the cost of $5,000 a year, which for a mid-sized company's payroll is practically a rounding error, Bill can increase Shady's probability of staying in the country by 50% compared to level 2.
And he triples the probability compared to a level 1 entry-level worker.
It completely changes the nature of a salary negotiation. Usually, if you ask your boss for a raise, you're arguing about the value of your labor, right?
Yeah.
Or inflation, or what the market rate is. You say, I did a great job this quarter, pay me more.
Exactly.
But here, Shady isn't saying, I deserve more money because I'm a good employee. He's saying, I need this specific $5,000 increment because it literally buys me a statistical advantage in a federal lottery.
The raise becomes a lever. It's a statistical lever for Visa's success. And if you're a manager like Bill, you have to look at this rationally. If you actually want Shady on your team long-term, paying him $90,000 is objectively a bad business investment.
Because it's too risky. You might lose him entirely.
Exactly. You're putting onboarding time, legal fees, and project planning into a candidate who has a massive chance of being rejected by the system. Paying him $95,000 is a much safer investment because it artificially boosts his odds of sticking around.
You're not just paying for his talent anymore, you are buying insurance on your own hiring process.
That is the perfect way to phrase it.
And this is such a crucial takeaway for anyone listening who might be in this position right now. You cannot walk into these negotiations blind anymore. You mentioned the AFLAG wage search tool earlier. I've seen square shots of this thing in the files. It looks archaic.
Oh, it's a classic government website, the Foreign Labor Application Gateway. Looks like it was hard-coded in 1998, and they just never bothered to update the CSS. But today, it is arguably the most important URL on the internet for international workers.
So walk us through the practical steps. What does a listener actually do on this site?
So you go to the site first. You have to find your SOC code, your standard occupational classification. This is tricky because there are hundreds of them. Are you a data scientist? A data analyst?
Yeah.
A statistician?
And I assume each one has a slightly different wage curve.
Completely different curves.
Mm-hmm.
Once you lock in your code, you select your county, not just your state, but the specific county where you'll be working. The required wage in San Francisco County is wildly different than the wage in Sacramento County.
Right, because of cost of living adjustment.
Exactly. And then the system spits out the 4 levels, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, with the exact dollar amounts for each. Every single applicant and every single hiring manager must know these specific numbers before they ever walk into a negotiation room.
Because if you don't know exactly where those lines are drawn, you could leave huge probability points on the table over a trivial amount of money. Just like Shady almost did. You aren't just negotiating your take-home pay anymore, you're negotiating your lottery tickets.
Precisely. Imagine finding out in April that you missed out on level 3 by like $500. You'd be sick to your stomach.
So that is strategy pillar number 1 from the files. Know your level and fight tooth and nail for level 3 or 4. Do the math.
Yes, do the math. But of course, the government rarely gives with one hand without taking with the other. Just when Shady thinks he's got a solid plan, he's got Bill to agree to the 95 grand, they hit a massive wall.
Right, a $100,000 wall.
The consular shock.
This is the second huge hurdle for the 2026 season. And I have to admit, when I was first reading the outline of these files, I saw $100,000 fee, and I genuinely assumed it was a typo. I thought, surely they mean 10,000, right?
It is not a typo. It is a $100,000 protectionist barrier, plain and simple. This fee was introduced via a presidential proclamation just recently. And it applies specifically to H-1B petitions, where the beneficiary, the worker, is currently physically outside the United States.
Okay, we need to break this down carefully, because this entirely changes the global geography of hiring.
Explicitly, let's use our case study. If Bill wants to hire Shady, and let's say Shady isn't sitting in an office in New York. Let's say Shady is currently living in Cairo or London or Bangalore. He's a remote candidate applying globally. To actually get him into the U.S., he needs to go to a U.S. consulate in his home country to get his visa stamped.
Right, which has always been the standard procedure for international hires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the new 2026 rule says, in order to trigger that consular processing for a new H-1B, the sponsoring employer must pay a market access fee of $100,000.
On top of the normal legal fees and the filing fees.
On top of everything, it is a flat surcharge.
That is just prohibitive. I mean, for a small business or a startup, that is an absolute deal breaker. That's an entire extra salary just in government fees.
It's designed to be a deal breaker. The government is very clearly signaling an incentive structure here. They're essentially telling American companies, we do not want you bringing in new people from the outside if there is anyone on the inside who can do the job.
So they are forcing companies to hire talent that is already physically inside the U.S. borders.
You mean people like international students?
That is the primary target demographic. Think about the F1 students. They are already here on student visas. Maybe they just graduated and they're doing their OPT, their optional practical training.
Yeah.
If you hire an F1 student who is already living in Chicago, you don't pay the $100,000 fee because they are doing what's called a change of status from within the country. They don't need to go to a consulate abroad to trigger their entry. They're already here.
Wow. So this creates an unbelievable premium on international students who are graduating from U.S. universities right now.
It makes them the absolute golden ticket of the labor market. If I'm Bill and I have two identical resumes on my desk, one is Shady, who is brilliant, but he lives in Egypt, and the other is a slightly less experienced graduate from Georgia Tech who is already sitting in Atlanta.
The Georgia Tech grad is $100,000 cheaper on day one, instantly. It's a brutal calculus for anyone trying to break into the U.S. market from abroad. It basically kills the concept of applying from overseas for anyone who isn't a superstar executive.
It completely splits the global talent pool in half. You have the domestic international pool, the people already here, which is highly desirable and cost-effective. And then you have the overseas international pool, which is now treated like a luxury good. You only buy from that pool if you absolutely have to.
That's a great way to put it. It's a luxury tax on foreign talent.
But surely there are exceptions, right? I mean, what if Shady is the absolute only person in the world who can do this specific job? What if he's a genuine prodigy?
There is a loophole. And this is where attorney Sarah's notes in the case file become incredibly important. She highlights something called the National Interest Exception, or the NIE.
Ah, the magic acronym. How does the NIE work?
The only way around paying that massive fee is if Bill's company can prove to the government that Shady's work is directly in the national interest of the United States.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that making Bill's company more profitable doesn't count as national interests.
Sadly, no. The criteria outlined in the proclamation are extremely strict. It lists specific, critical fields.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is right at the top of the list. Semiconductors and chip manufacturing. Critical healthcare infrastructure.
So if Shady is a data analyst for, say, a retail clothing brand, analyzing skirt sales or inventory, he's out of luck.
Most likely, yes. The company's paying the fee or they aren't hiring him. But if he is a data analyst for an AI startup that's working on large language models or defense contracts,
then he has a shot at getting the waiver.
Exactly. Bill would have to file a petition arguing that charging this fee would actively hinder American competitiveness in a critical sector. He'd need letters from industry experts, maybe even a government endorsement. And if the NIE is granted, the fee is entirely waived.
But if it's not granted?
If it's not, Bill has to make a really hard decision. Is Shady worth $100,000 cash up front, plus the legal fees, plus his $95,000 salary? For the vast majority of companies, the answer is just going to be no.
This really does create a two-tier job market, and not just based on where you are physically located, but what specific industry you happen to be in. If you are in AI, the red carpet is rolled out for you. If you're in, I don't know, civil engineering or marketing, the doors are basically slamming shut.
It is industrial policy disguised as immigration policy. The government is actively picking winners and losers. AI and chips are the winners. Everything else is secondary.
Man, the strategy layers here are just deep. So let's recap Shady's journey so far. He needs to negotiate a level 3 salary just to survive the weighted lottery odds. Then he hopefully needs to either already be in the US on a student visa or working in AI to survive the consular fee. But let's say he navigates all of that successfully. He gets the offer, he gets the right wage level, he avoids the fee, he thinks he's in the clear. But there's one more trap in the files. And this one feels almost insidious because it punishes you for being too popular.
Yes. Section 4. The beneficiary-centric system and the default rule. This is the part that catches even the smartest, most prepared people completely off guard.
Let's talk about how it used to work. In the old days, meaning 2025, the strategy for candidates was basically apply everywhere, right? I remember friends doing this, just shotgunning resumes.
Right. We saw this specifically with candidates like Amir and Zahir in the case files. If you wanted to boost your chances in the random lottery, you would try to get 5 different companies to offer you a job. Company A, B, C, D, and E all submit a registration for you.
Because in the old lottery, that literally gave you 5 tickets in the hat. It was a pure volume game. More offers equaled more chances.
It was. But it led to massive systemic fraud. You had these shady consulting companies colluding to flood the system with fake offers for the exact same person just to grab a spot in the quota. So for 2026, USCIS fixed it. The system is now beneficiary-centric. They use your actual passport number as the unique identifier.
Meaning, no matter how many different companies register you, you are only identified as one single person in the master system.
Correct. Multiple companies can still register you. That is perfectly legal. But it doesn't give you multiple distinct identities in the pool anymore. It just links all those various job offers to your single unique profile.
Okay, that sounds fair enough. It stops the spamming. But here's the trap. Let's look at the scenario with Zahir from the files. Zahir is a hot commodity. He gets legitimate offers from 3 different companies.
Right. Let's break Zahir's situation down very carefully because this is where the danger is. He has Company A, Company B, and Company C. Company B is a top-tier tech firm. They offer him a level 4 wage, high salary, high probability. That is his golden ticket right there. 4 entries in the hat. But Company A is a smaller firm. Maybe it's a backup option for him. They offer him a level 2 wage.
So Zahir is sitting there thinking, great, I have a level 4 offer which gives me 4 entries and a level 2 offer which gives me 2 entries. I am maximizing my options. If the Company B job falls through, I still have Company A as a safety net.
That is the logical assumption. Anyone would think that. But it is dead wrong under the 2026 rules because there is the default rule. And this is the absolute killer.
How does it work?
If a single beneficiary, one passport number, is registered by multiple entities at different wage levels, USCIS defaults the candidate to the lowest wage level submitted for any of their registrations.
Wait, what? Say that again? That sounds like a glitch in the software.
It's not a glitch. It is a very intentional feature. If you have a level 4 registration and a level 2 registration linked to your passport number, the system treats you as a level 2 candidate for all of them.
That is devastating. So the cheap offer from Company A actually drags down the high probability offer from Company B.
Exactly. It acts like a poison pill. Zahir effectively sabotages his own chances by allowing Company A to submit that lower wage registration. He thinks he's adding a safety net, but he's actually weighing down his own balloon.
So instead of getting the 60% probability of his level 4 offer, he gets dragged all the way down to the 14 or 20% probability of the level 2 offer across the board.
Across the board. His level 4 offer is treated like a level 2 offer by the algorithm.
Why on earth would they design it that way? That feels so punitive to the worker. Why not just let the level 4 offer stand on its own merit?
Officer Miller explains the rationale in his enforcement notes. It's a strict anti-gaming measure. The government is terrified of shell companies. Imagine if they didn't have this default rule in place. You could get one legitimate level 4 offer. And then you could ask 10 of your friends to register fake shell companies and submit level 1 offers for you, just to add volume to your profile.
Ah, I see. So if they allowed you to keep the level 4 status while having a bunch of level 1s attached, people would just spam the system with low wage registrations to increase their entry count, knowing the one level 4 would protect their high probability.
Right. It would break the weighted system. So the rule is simple and harsh. If you associate with a low-wage offer, you are categorized as a low-wage candidate, period.
Yeah.
It forces total consistency across all your applications.
That is a harsh lesson. It means candidates have to be incredibly selective. You can't just say yes to everyone who wants to sponsor you anymore.
No, you absolutely cannot. You have to aggressively vet your sponsors. If a company comes to you and says, hey, we want to register you at level 1 just to see what happens, you have to scream no. You have to tell them, do not touch my passport number.
Because that one bad registration acts like a virus. It infects your entire profile.
It really does. A bad registration is toxic. That is the headline here. Zahir needs to look at Company A and say, unless you can match the level 4 wage that Company B is offering, do not register me. It turns the candidate into the gatekeeper of their own data.
This is so counterintuitive to how we usually think about job hunting.
Yeah.
We are trained to think that more offers equals more safety. But in 2026, more offers can equal disaster if they aren't strictly quality controlled.
Quality over quantity. That is the absolute mantra of the wage-weighted lottery. You want one level 4 registration over 10 level 2 registrations any day of the week.
Wow. Okay, so we have covered the three main pillars here. It's a lot of information to take in. Let's try to synthesize this for the listener who might be driving to work right now, sweating about their own visa status. What is the definitive 2026 strategy?
It really boils down to 3 actionable steps. First, know your wage level. Use the flag tool. Do not guess. Target level 3 or 4. If your offer puts you at level 2, negotiate. Find a way to get that extra $5,000. As we saw with Bill and Shady, it is the best money your company will ever spend.
Check. Know your level. Pillar 2.
Avoid the consular fee. If you are a hiring manager, prioritize talent already inside the U.S. If you are a candidate abroad, target the NIE industries, AI, semiconductors, healthcare. Find a way to fit into those categories so you can dodge that $100,000 bullet.
Got it. And pillar 3.
Sanitize your registrations. Avoid the default rule trap at all costs. Do not let a lowball offer sabotage your high-wage offer. Be totally ruthless about who you allow to submit your name to USCIS.
It's a meritocracy of wages. That's really what this entire system is.
It is. And we should briefly mention what happens after selection. Because getting selected in the lottery isn't the end of the road.
Yep.
Let's say Shady wins. He gets the level 3 slot.
Right. The aftermath. What happens next?
The documents mention something called FDNS site visits, fraud detection and national security.
That sounds intense. Like men in black suits showing up?
It is intense. Because the system is now rewarding high wages so heavily with higher probabilities, the government is incredibly paranoid that companies will lie. They think companies will promise a level 4 salary of, say, $150,000 just to win the lottery, and then actually pay the guy $80,000 once he starts working.
Ah, the classic bait and switch. Oh, sorry, Shady. Budget cuts. We have to lower your pay.
Exactly. So in 2026, enforcement is highly aggressive. Officers like Miller are showing up at offices, physically showing up unannounced to verify payroll records. They want to see the W-2s. They want to see that the high-wage job is real. If you win on a level 4 ticket, you better be paying a level 4 wage from day 1.
So the lesson is don't bluff. If you bluff the wage to win the lottery, Officer Miller is going to come knocking on your door.
And Officer Miller does not have a sense of humor about payroll fraud. He sees it as stealing a visa from someone else who actually deserved it. The penalties are severe.
It's just a fascinating, terrifying landscape. It's amazing how quickly the fundamental rules of the game can change. We went from everyone is equal in the eyes of the lottery to money talks in the span of just one regulatory cycle.
It reflects a much broader shift in national priorities. We are moving away from passive immigration. Give us your tired, your poor, toward this aggressive, active curation of the workforce. The U.S. is acting like a giant corporation optimizing its human capital portfolio. They only want the highest ROI workers.
Which brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've unpacked the mechanism, the multiplier effect, the astronomical fees, and the hidden traps. I think it's very clear that the H-1B visa is no longer about luck. It's entirely about strategy. The seemingly small details, a specific SOC code, a $5,000 difference in salary, handing out your passport number, these are the things that now dictate life-changing outcomes.
Absolutely. The margin for error is 0 right now. You have to be informed and you have to be proactive.
But I want to leave you with a provocative thought as we wrap up. We've spent the last hour breaking down how to win this new game, but we really should ask, is this even the right game to be playing?
Go on. Where are you going with this?
Well, the system has officially decided that merit equals market value. If you make a lot of money, you are good for America. If you work in AI, you are essential. But what happens to the teachers? What about the social workers? What about the nonprofit researchers who might be absolutely brilliant, but they aren't generating level 4 revenue?
That is the big ethical gap in all of this. A brilliant bilingual teacher working in an underserved community is probably, at best, a level 1 or level 2 wage earner. Under this new system, they have a 14% chance of staying in the country. Meanwhile, a mid-level marketing manager at a tech giant making level 4 wages has a 60% chance.
Exactly. Have we defined value too narrowly? By optimizing purely for economic output and high salaries, are we losing other kinds of cultural or social vitality? Are we building a workforce or just a really efficient revenue engine?
It's a very valid critique. We have engineered an immigration system that knows the exact price of everything, but perhaps misses the actual value of some things.
Definitely something to mull over as you go check your wage levels on that archaic Felk-Leg website.
Indeed. Check your codes carefully.
That's it for this deep dive. Make sure you check your level before you make your next move. Good luck out there.
Stay strategic.